Imagine waking up and realizing you're starting from scratch. No investment account quietly compounding in the background. No retirement balance. No hidden pile of assets waiting to save you. Maybe you've got a paycheck. Maybe you've got bills. Maybe you've got a little debt hanging over you like a bad roommate who never moves out. And the world, of course, is still being the world. Headlines are loud. Markets feel uncertain. Housing feels expensive. Technology keeps changing fast enough to make everyone a little uneasy. And right there in that moment, most people make the same mistake. They assume they're too late. They assume wealth belongs to people who started earlier, bought in cheaper, made fewer mistakes, had better timing, or somehow received a secret instruction manual everyone else missed. I don't think that's true, because if I had to start from absolute zero today, I wouldn't begin by hunting for the perfect stock. I wouldn't be looking for a miracle side hustle. I wouldn't be asking which hot company is about to explode next. I'd build a system. That's the part people skip. They want returns before structure, growth before stability, momentum before control. And that's usually how people stay financially fragile for years while telling themselves they're working on it. So if I were starting over, I'd follow a very specific order. And the order matters more than the app, the market forecast, the asset class, or whatever shiny thing people are arguing about this week. The first thing I deal with is the part nobody likes to look at: debt. Because a lot of people say they're starting from zero when they're actually starting from negative 10,000, negative 20,000, sometimes worse. And that changes everything. If you're carrying credit card debt at 20+% interest, you are fighting uphill before you ever invest $1. Let's say you owe $5,000 at 24%. That debt is charging you roughly $1,200 a year just for existing. So when someone says, "I'm trying to invest too," what I hear is, "I'm trying to earn 8 to 10% in one place while losing 24% in another." That's a hole in the floor, not a strategy. And the damage is bigger than the math. Debt changes behavior. It makes people more cautious in the wrong ways. They stay in jobs they hate because missing one paycheck feels dangerous. They avoid asking for raises. They delay changing cities, changing roles, or learning new skills. They become emotionally attached to stability because financially they have no margin. That's why my first mission would be simple: kill the high-interest debt as fast as possible. I'd list every balance from highest interest rate to lowest. I'd pay minimums on everything else. Then I'd throw every extra dollar at the ugliest rate first. That means fewer subscriptions, fewer impulse buys, fewer tiny rewards that somehow keep getting charged to a future version of me. This phase is not glamorous. It's a controlled financial fire. The goal is to remove drag, because once the drag is gone, every dollar starts moving in the right direction. Now, this is where a lot of people get excited too early. They pay down debt, feel productive, and immediately want to jump into the market. I get it. Investing feels like progress. Savings feels boring. But this is exactly where new investors create a second problem while solving the first one. Because life has terrible timing. Your car breaks down during a market drop. You get hit with a medical bill during a layoff. Your rent jumps while your portfolio is in the red. And suddenly the money you said was for the long term becomes grocery money. That's how compounding gets interrupted. So after debt, I'd build cash. Real cash. Boring cash. The kind that earns a little interest and impresses absolutely nobody. Cash has a branding problem. People hear cash and think dead money, inflation, waste, missed upside. But early on, cash has one job. It keeps your plan alive when real life shows up. Think about two people, same salary, same savings rate, same investment plan. Both are doing everything right. Then the market drops 20% and one of them loses their job. Person A has every spare dollar invested. They need money now, so they sell shares at the worst possible time. Their temporary loss becomes permanent. Person B has several months of expenses sitting in a high-yield savings account. They use the cash, leave the portfolio alone, and give the investments time to recover. Same market, same income, very different outcome. That's why I'd build an emergency fund before I got serious about investing. I'd figure out my survival number: rent, food, utilities, insurance, transportation, the stripped-down version of life. Then I'd save at least 3 months of that amount. More if my income felt unstable or my obligations were heavier. This money would live somewhere safe and liquid: a high-yield savings account, a money market fund, somewhere dull enough that I never confuse it with spending money. And this matters for more than practical reasons. Cash changes your mindset. When you have a buffer, you stop making every financial decision from a place of urgency. You don't panic as quickly. You don't treat every market dip like a personal emergency. You create space between the event and your reaction. That space is valuable. Only after that would I move to the next stage, which is the part people usually think comes first: investing. Now here's my view if I'm starting from zero. My early portfolio does not need personality. It needs reliability. This is where people get seduced by complexity. They think a beginner portfolio should include a little of everything: some tech stocks, some crypto, some international exposure, a thematic ETF, maybe gold because it sounds sophisticated. I wouldn't do that. When your portfolio is small, your greatest advantage is consistency. Your biggest enemy is distraction. So I'd keep the core very simple: broad, low-cost index funds. Funds that give me exposure to a large part of the market without asking me to become a part-time analyst after work. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: You do not need to find the next superstar stock to build wealth. You need a process strong enough to survive your own emotions for a long time. That's the real game. People underestimate how hard it is to hold concentrated bets through volatility. It feels easy when prices rise. It feels smart when the chart keeps climbing. Then the first real drop hits, and suddenly, conviction starts sounding a lot like hope. Index investing has a different issue. It works quietly, slowly, almost offensively boring. You buy, you wait, you repeat. Which is excellent for wealth building and terrible for anyone addicted to excitement. That's why I'd automate it. I'd set a percentage of every paycheck to go into broad index funds and remove as many future decisions as possible. Because decision fatigue is expensive. Automation protects you from the version of yourself who gets nervous, distracted, overconfident, or bored. And if I really wanted room to experiment, I'd put boundaries around it. Maybe 90% goes into the boring core. Maybe 10% goes into the I want to try something bucket. That way, curiosity never gets to hijack the plan. Because the main job of an early portfolio is simple. Capture growth, avoid catastrophic mistakes, stay in the game. But even if you do all of that well, there's another league most people barely think about. Taxes. This is where beginner investors quietly donate years of progress. Let's say you invest consistently for decades and end up with a meaningful portfolio. Same contributions, same discipline, same market return. Two people can do all of that and still end up in different places because of one question. Where did the money live? A Roth IRA grows under one set of rules. A 401k gives you a different advantage. An HSA, if you qualify, can be incredibly powerful. A taxable brokerage account gives flexibility, which matters, though flexibility without strategy often becomes expensive. So if I were starting over, I'd treat the tax code like part of the investment plan. First, I'd contribute enough to a 401k to get the full employer match if I had one. That match is part of my compensation. Walking away from it is like refusing free money for my own job. Then I'd look at funding a Roth IRA. If an HSA made sense for my situation, I'd take that seriously too. After that, I'd increase retirement contributions further before relying heavily on a taxable account. And there's a behavioral advantage here that people don't talk about enough. Tax-advantaged accounts create friction. Friction gets a bad reputation, though sometimes it protects you from yourself. Money that's slightly harder to touch tends to stay invested longer. Money that stays invested longer has more time to compound, and compounding rewards patience far more than cleverness. Now at this point, a lot of people would say, okay, I get it. Spend less, save more, invest steadily. Use the right accounts. Yes. And there's still one giant variable left, income, because there's a limit to how much you can cut. There are only so many subscriptions to cancel, only so many grocery optimizations to make. Social media loves to pretend wealth is hidden somewhere between skipping lattes and buying generic toothpaste. That may help at the edges. It won't carry the whole mission. If I wanted to move faster from zero, I would spend serious time upgrading my earning power. That means I'd stop thinking only like a budget manager and start thinking like an asset builder. My skills are assets. My reputation is an asset. My ability to solve better problems is an asset. My communication is an asset. My leverage in the job market is an asset. And the return on those assets can be enormous. Let's say you save $200 a month through tighter budgeting. Over a year, that's $2,400. Useful, worth doing. Now, imagine you increase your income by $15,000 a year through a promotion, a better role, stronger communication, technical training, project management, sales ability, or sharper negotiation. That change can transform the entire system. Your emergency fund fills faster. Your retirement accounts fill faster. Your investing rate rises faster. Your margin of error widens. Higher income gives every other part of the plan more force. So I'd run a skill audit on myself. What does my current job reward? What skill would make me significantly more valuable? What do people in the next pay tier know how to do that I don't do yet? Where is my compensation bottleneck? Then I'd pick one thing and go hard on it. 1 hour a day can change a lot over 6 months if the skill has leverage. Communication, sales, data, leadership, writing, software, process improvement, industry-specific expertise. The exact skill depends on the person. The principle stays the same. Increase the value you create, and your income has a chance to follow. And once that happens, the whole plan starts feeling different. You're no longer trying to build wealth out of scraps. You're feeding a larger machine. So if I had to start from nothing, this would be the playbook. First, eliminate the high-interest debt that quietly destroys momentum. Second, build enough cash to survive real life without touching investments. Third, automate a simple portfolio built around broad, low-cost index funds. Fourth, use tax-advantaged accounts in the smartest order available to you. Fifth, keep upgrading your income because earnings accelerate every other step. That's it. No miracle stock, no secret indicator, no overnight transformation, just a sequence. And sequence matters in money. The right move in the wrong order can still hurt you. The boring move in the right order can change your life. That's what people miss when they say wealth building is simple. The concepts may be simple. Living them consistently is where the challenge begins. It asks for patience when you want speed, restraint when you want excitement, discipline when nobody is clapping yet. Still, this is the path I trust, because the first major chunk of wealth usually doesn't come from brilliance. It comes from structure, from closing the leaks, from staying solvent long enough for time to finally get on your side. And once time joins your team, the game starts to look very different. If this helped you think more clearly about your own next move, subscribe for more videos on money, investing, and financial freedom. And keep watching because the next video is where we can turn this framework into actual numbers.